Looking at UVTV, motherfucker. I'm gonna kick spiritual ass and do this for my people. Oh God. Neon nigga for feather me yet. And today I'm gonna be talking about how Jews are not an ethnic group and are just a nation of people who like moving as a legion, aka a religion, a re-legion. They're revitalizing a different type of legion. And a legion is just a multitude or a flock or a group of individuals and stuff like that at a mass scale that's based upon an indefinite amount of numbers. So we don't know how many of these people represent those people for the most part, but it's still a great number of those people. But it's like a flock or it's like an army of people or it's like a legion of people or just a group of people. In the same way how they be looking at God like a deity and stuff like that, like a cult, is basically what they're practicing. It is self-projecting that based upon westernizing a whole bunch of different things, like how they talk about in the Bible of the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament will represent the old world, and then the New Testament will represent the new world when they started westernizing a whole bunch of different things. So the letter J wasn't even made until like the 1600s and stuff like that. So apparently, they God can speak because God to just look at God like all possibilities. Apparently, that God can speak English, but English is just a pigment language because it's just a combination of a whole bunch of different languages and stuff like that, based upon the different interactions they had with a whole bunch of different people and ethnic groups and cultures and stuff like that. So look at that as some England man talking English, England man speaking, and German and Spanish and Spaniard and Native American stuff like that, and them combining it together to make it some type of global language to where we can understand each other. That's the pro. The con will be it's still a combination of a whole bunch of different languages, and it's not based upon something about their own culture and their own language and stuff like that. So people can get lost into the words of stuff, and based upon the words and the starting point of their interpretation, based upon the definitions of that statement or that word and stuff like that, and what they want to utilize it for it to mean and stuff like that. That's how people can get confused and start getting like witchcraft practice on them. Witchcraft just meaning bitchcraft. Oh, I'm a craft the women whatever way I want to, based upon some type of feminine energy, because a witch will represent a female sorceress, and if it's feminine energy, it's gonna be the internal energy. It's gonna be the taken type of energy. So I want you to internalize the way I'm trying to craft the world based upon this emotion and feeling. That's it. That's all. And I just want to be the main source of what that is. That's why I'm a sorceress. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. That's all. So, right from them being yeah, they're not an ethnic group because, like I just said, that the letter J wasn't even made into the 1600s and stuff like that. And because it wasn't even made into the 1600s, and based upon what Jews believe in, which is based upon Jesus Christ and stuff like that, Jesus just represents the Son, and then Christ will represent ascension. So Son ascension, or the Son transitioning, the Son transitioning into 12 different pockets. 12 different pockets represents Jesus and the 12 disciples. Jesus and the 12 disciples and stuff like that, and the 12 tribes of Israel and Judah and stuff like that, it represents a certain character. So from them represent a certain character in the different sun pockets and the sun transitions and stuff like that, based upon 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or Aries through Pisces and Mazzaroth and stuff like that. That's why they have a whole bunch of different metaphors and allegories inside the Bible or their holy book and stuff like that. So it can be written down in a certain way. So they can craft reality, how they see the world and stuff like that. AKA look at that as, oh, God created the world in his image. So them trying to play God, them trying to look at them trying to make it so they're in a position to where you look at them as that. That's why they'll have things on a dollar bill like "In God We Trust" or "One of a Many" or on the American seal and stuff like that. He's rewarding our undertakings and stuff like that. He meaning God. God being in their character or this ideology or this theology they made up in their mind of how they look at God. Because they look at God like a deity. And if it's a deity, it's it's like a derived version or a denomination, if I wanted that to make sense, of the original source, which is just God just in general, right? So the same way how you look at religion and like Christianity and how it has so many different denominations, and then Christianity is just the umbrella that you're putting it under for the most part, right? You're deifying something. So you're looking at something like it's like a deity that you want to idolize and get lost into idol worship and worship that thing and give praise and faith and belief into that thing based upon that idol worship. So y'all basically be anthropomorphizing these different thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions based upon the self-projection type of energy. It's not something that's based upon something that's natural and organic and people are actually cultivating that thing. You have to make people believe in it by doing that self-projection. So look at that as having a church on every block, or a Mormon, or you know what I'm saying, Jehovah Witnesses, and going door to door to try to convince people of this God that you're talking about. But you look at God like a deity, not looking at God like the overall God. The overall God would just be all possibilities. You look at it like it's a he. You look at it like it's a he rather than a it. You know what I'm saying? It's something that we're making possible. It's something that's a multitude of different things. And it's based upon monotheism, right? Because if it's under that monotheism, that means they believe in that one God and stuff like that. But based upon it being under monotheism and stuff like that, you just have a one-track mind. You have a singular version of how you look at God. And that shape and form, it has to be based upon y'all rulership. It has to be based upon y'all government. It has to be based upon y'all language. It has to be based upon y'all scriptures and y'all doctrines and stuff like that. But from y'all making it so, oh, you can only understand God through this doctrine, that's y'all being indoctrinated in itself. Because from y'all being indoctrinated, you're in a doctrine, you're in a book, when we can see in actuality that God, aka all possibilities, right, is connected with, you know what I'm saying? Because like y'all look at God like a deity instead of looking at it as no shape and form. It is no specific shape or form. I've had to look at it the same way how your spirit is your space and stuff like that, and your spirit is no shape and form, and your individual space is just your soul and stuff like that. If it's something that connects with your subjectivity, if it naturally and organically connects to your soul based upon your way of how you look at it, based upon you being you and you being sentient and you having your own mind and stuff like that, it's not gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't force an influence. You can't force an idol worship. You can't force a religion. You know what I'm saying? You can't force a name and title. It's just something that someone naturally and organically like and stuff like that. Now, if you want to make it relative and make it descriptive and make it so people can understand what you're saying, yeah, you're going to use the language. Yeah, you're going to use the title and stuff like that. But you're not getting lost into what the title is in itself. You ain't getting lost into the word. You ain't getting lost into the idol or the icon worship and stuff like that. It's just something you naturally like to do based upon we like to fulfill ourselves as spirits and stuff like that. So different shapes and forms. And the same way how we have different ideologies and different theologies and different thought forms, aka shape and form, we end up making it what it is. So it's us creating that culture or creating it and giving it life so it can die one day, aka have an expiration date and stuff like that. And considering we in the flesh and the external world and the technology and the tools that get made from the flesh in some shape and form, right? We all know we're gonna die one day, and we slowly decaying in this physical body, in this physical flesh, in this physical shape and form and stuff like that. And in the lighter shape and form, it's just our thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotion, aka our mind or our psyche or our mentality and stuff like that. And then when it goes into the ethers or like heaven or like the atmosphere and stuff like that, so look at that as the sphere at most or the world at most, and the different seasonal transitions and the celestial bodies and stuff like that, right? We're trying to be something more light. We're trying to be something more heavenly and stuff like that. So look at light as in weight, not getting lost into the light, aka getting lost into a certain doctrine, getting lost into a certain type of knowledge, getting lost into a certain type of thinking, getting lost into a certain type of philosophy or something like that, right? Is about creating your own way how to go about it, and then being around people who are in who are in the same type of sentiment that you are also in, and y'all are naturally gonna gravitate towards each other because y'all resonate within the spirit or the soul instead of something based upon the external representation of what that is. So that's like you get into a relationship and stuff like that, right? And you want to get with a bad bitch or something like that, and she got a fat ass and stuff like that, and she got double D titties and stuff like that. Physically, she looks the part, curvy, all that, or a man and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Constantly in the gym and stuff like that. He always had, like, you know what I'm saying? He's like a CEO or a businessman and stuff like that, but you don't relate to them personally. They look the part, right? But personally, they don't resonate with you based upon their individuality and their personality, and their whole personality is constructed based upon the flesh, based upon the physical, based upon how much money they have, based upon how much they have in resources and stuff like that, and their networking skills and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not based upon them as an individual. It's based upon what they have. It's not based upon who they is without that. So it's the same thing when it comes to Jews and monotheism and Christianity and Judaism and stuff like that, right? Without that, who are you without that? And then y'all justifications based upon how y'all look at God just in general and Jesus being the way is just some Jesuit cosplaying as that. So it's based upon God or based upon Jesus being the Son of God, but from him being the Son of God and stuff like that, and him being in the flesh and performing all these miracles, y'all, the reason y'all say it in such an allegorical, metaphorical type of way and stuff like that is because you want to try to make a doctrine of y'all specific version so people can look at y'all for some type of redemption or savior and stuff like that, to get redeemed for these sins or something like that. And then based upon things getting westernized, so colonization and capitalism and stuff like that, y'all just gonna use that as y'all justification to where y'all feel like, oh, because I did all this in the physical, I did all this into the flesh, if I did all this these warlike tactics and stuff like that, me doing all these manipulative type of tactics and stuff like that, and me taking over all these things and taking over certain settlements and certain lands and stuff like that, and putting motherfuckers into different slave mentalities and all the way down to physical slavery and stuff like that. That means God must be with me and stuff like that, because look at all this power that I have in the physical, in the flesh, when you could die tomorrow and you can't take none of those things with you. So it's just showing your ass of how much you lack spirituality. You can't create or cultivate something out your own volition without self-projecting, without doing it by force. You can't make people look at you like an icon. You can't make people look at you like a celebrity or something like that. You can't make the people run with you without the robbery, without the westernized version of how to go about it, without the monetary gain, without the capitalism, without the system set up. But the only reason that system is set up is because you made the system so it's something that only y'all can win in, and so in so in shape and form. And the only way someone can get to your ascension, get to your level, and get to your position and stuff like that, they have to do the same type of things that you did. And all that is just the self-projection type of energy in a nutshell, by being lost into the flesh and not really being spiritual like that. Yet you're going to make a spiritual practice so people can go to you for that specific type of savior complex or God complex and stuff like that, because y'all like playing God, because y'all look at God like a deity instead of all possibilities. You want all possibilities to run through you instead of actually getting with God, just in general, because getting with God is not being a part of no shape and form. So from being a part of no shape and form, right, you end up being nothing. You end up being no thing, and you end up being so it's like you go into the mentality of something like that's like you having some type of natural talent and gift, and it's nothing to you. That's what that is. That's what you being connected with God is, nothing to you. So you have to look at everything like that, like it's nothing to you, to understand what the fuck that is. And it's based upon compartmentalizing, and you're able to equalize that thing. You ain't getting too lost into a bias. Yes, overall you're gonna have your subjective point of view of how to go about things, but you know how to make it relative based upon your own imagination and your own outlook, and you can make that outlook relative with the overall outlook, aka it don't matter what background or what culture or what people or sentient being that's in front of you. You know how to make it relative with all these different beings, and you're able to expand on that intelligence. You're able to expand on that awareness and condense into a new one, and constantly go through that ups and down, highs and lows and stuff like that, because you look at your creative ability or your talent, or what's another word, like creative ability, talent, and natural gift, as something that's nothing to you, because it's something you as an individual that make you stand out when it comes to your own personality, that you personally are invested in and you personally know how to do, that you put your time into, based upon you naturally and organically knowing how to get attention for yourself and naturally get that attraction based upon your sentiment, and people actually just being invested into it based upon your specific way of how to do it. So that's what being great is, just in general. You know what I'm saying? That's actual inspiration for real and stuff like that. From you taking the overall spiral and you having some type of internal spirals, aka inspiration, and then you solidifying it. So you manifesting, you materializing, manifesting men and women, giving and taking, externalize, internalize. You're able to do it from the inside out, not from the outside in. Letting the external world dictate what you already want to do, and you feel like you're capable of inside, and you're able to show your talent and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You're able to shine your light, but not get lost into the light and making it darkness, because you end up getting blinded by the word. You end up getting blinded by the doctrine. You end up getting blinded by a specific way of how to look at it. And you're able to be dynamic and free as a spirit, instead of making yourself be into a mental jail cell and stuff like that, and throwing away the key and always being in bondage, because your ass is always getting lost into the validation of the external world instead of validating and fulfilling yourself first and having that relationship with yourself first. You get what I'm saying? So just in general, right, when it comes to the Jews, that's basically what all them doing. And then I'm not even talking from the pretense of me being anti-Semitic or something like that, right? I'm just trying to say from them getting it in with they people and stuff like that, because I know a lot of people be looking at it like when it comes to Jewish motherfuckers, right? They always be super connected up, and they have a lot of this nepotism because of this, then the third, and they feel like they God chosen people based upon them being Hebrews and original people of Israel and stuff like that. For the most part, based upon that geographical location, right? Why are y'all talking about that in other countries and other continents and stuff like that? That has nothing to do with America. So that let you know right there, based upon where y'all God is at and where y'all get that from y'all being Jewish, it shows y'all being a character. And then based upon the Jewish witchcraft and the Jewish program and stuff like that, that's why other people who are other races and other ethnicities, they can also be a Jew. That's why in general they call it an ethnic religion and stuff like that, because it still has the religion aspect, but it's not just a specific group of people. It's beyond, like it's not just white people is basically what I'm trying to say, right? Because you can be a African person and be Jewish. You can be kind of like Drake or some shit like that. You can be Native American and be Jewish. You can be Asian and be Jewish and stuff like that. So based upon that whole ethnic religion tag, just in general and stuff like that, that's basically the play. Like that is a side and stuff like that. Oh, we're gonna make you believe that we are our own group of people with our own culture and stuff like that. Even though you're just combining a whole bunch of different spiritual systems and cultures and different belief systems and making your own version of that. That's why y'all look at it as a monotheism and one God. Okay, you want to look at this deity in this one way and nothing else and stuff like that. So you can get lost into this iconography or this idol worship of this icon who did this specific thing. So look at that as Jesus and stuff like that. But Jesus is God's son, and from Jesus being God's son, right? It's symbolizing sun ascension or sun transitioning, or look at that as the different sun pockets, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., aka Aries through Pisces or Mazaroth and stuff like that. That's why they'll mention things like Mazaroth in the Bible. And I know they'll look at it like soothsaying, or you're getting lost into not like soothsaying, and like it's another term. I can't think of the fucking word though. It's another term, like a heathen or like paganism or some shit like that, something like that. AKA look at that as you getting lost into worldly, secular type of things for the most part. You getting lost into earthly, worldly type things. But the only reason y'all think it get created in the first place, it was created based upon worldly, earthly type things and stuff like that. Because you're using the English language to talk about y'all being God's people and the chosen people over this land and stuff like that, based upon the Abrahamic God, father of a multitude and stuff like that. But y'all father's sky and y'all farthest light of how to go the distance is by taking other people's land over and stuff like that. That's why they'll say things in the Bible about, oh yeah, we supposed to take over this land in Egypt because this supposed to be our land and stuff like that, because we came from the land of Canaanites and all that type shit. When you just talking about the flesh, you're just talking about taking over another person's lands. That's all you talking about in the Bible, just in general. You know what I'm saying? Like based upon y'all holy text and holy book and stuff like that. That's all y'all talking about. Y'all ain't talking about nothing else. That's why they'll make all these different allegories talking about it that way. That's why they have slavery in the Bible. That's what your God want you to do. You know what I'm saying? Even though in general, right, it's talking about internal energy. So this esoteric metaphysical way of how you could look at the Bible, and there's a lot of things you can look at when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, like it talking about internal energies of how to benefit your life and stuff like that. They just make it in a Jewish witchcraft type of way or a Masonic template booklet type of way to where you only go to them for that specific thing for the most part. So you're just going to be a part of the Jewish Jesuit nation in some way, shape, and form. And they have different clergymen and they have different high priests and stuff like that, and different pope that y'all could look at as the father or the papa or something like that, as based upon their practices and stuff like that. But based upon their practices, they're not the practitioners of what they practicing. They just trying to make a practice that, or a spiritual system, so they have some type of substantiated system based upon their different colonies that they have and stuff like that, kind of like Christian states and stuff like that, so they can utilize that as some form of colonization and capitalism. So y'all can have some type of template for people who think a certain way, so y'all can have that faith into giving y'all power away to them, so they can be that in the flesh and be that in the physical material world in some way, shape, and form, but they're not that in spirit. They're not creating that themselves and stuff like that. Because if it was really like that, it wouldn't be that self projection type of energy. It would just be their culture, and y'all wouldn't take it to an extreme like that. Now, there's Jewish people who don't look at it like that, and they were just born into it based upon, you know what I'm saying, like ancestry and stuff like that. And they probably don't even give a fuck about all the other aspects. They just came in the name when it comes to that. I'm just talking about the people who take that into an extreme. So yeah, like that's the main reason why they have to make it an ethnic religious group just in general and stuff like that. And that's why other ethnicities can be Jewish, because they want all these people in this character, in this certain type of intellectual property or template. So they want people to be a part of the Jewish nation, but it don't matter the color or the creed that you can be Jewish. You get what I'm saying? So it's not a specific group of people like white people or something like that. It probably started off like that, but that's why they turned it over time into an ethnic religious group, aka just look at that as a real legion, a nation of people, and it's a lot of them who in that intellectual property, that template of how they look at the world. And then that's it. Like all different religions, stuff like that, it's just their specific version of how they look at the world. You know what I'm saying? How they look at all possibilities. How they look at how can I be connected with God in some way, shape, or form. It's just when it comes to Jewish motherfuckers, when they take it to an extreme, it turns to super self-projection type of energy. And then when you actually sit there and analyze what they actually talking about when it comes to Judaism and the Jewish God and the Abrahamic God and stuff like that, it just look like, oh, y'all just made y'all Pacific doctrine based upon an accumulation of different things so y'all can westernize it, so y'all can practice y'all colonization and capitalism, because that's how y'all look at God, like a deity. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be something that gets deified. It's gonna be something that's like it comes after an entity. So it's in existence, but from it being in existence, right? Y'all turn it into a deity. Y'all are deifying it. You're making it demonic in some way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to say demonic as in evil or something like that. Look at demonic as, oh, you're compressing it down. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to ground it. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to materialize it. You taking manifesting men and women and trying to materialize it so it can appear like that in the flesh. It's just y'all want people to get lost into the idea, the idol worship of a certain way of thinking and feeling based upon that intellectual property that y'all done made and created, and you try to make it seem like, oh, you have access to the overall God, when it's not an overall God. It's just their specific version of how they look at God. Because when you look at God as all of existence, all beings together, all the creation, all possibilities and stuff like that, then you start seeing through the whole witchcraft and the whole program and the whole SOP in itself. So like the only way they're going to be in power in that shape and form is you have to believe in that. You have to believe in it. Keyword, believe in. You have to be in something. You know what I'm saying? So the same way how they be talking about, oh, Jesus did that to save y'all from y'all sins and stuff like that. It's certain desires that y'all in. Y'all have to be in that shape and form. You have to be indoctrinated. You have to be in that book. You have to be in that authorship. You have to be in that culture. That's not really a culture, because their culture is just cosplaying. You have to be in their character. You know what I'm saying? You have to be in character. You have to be a part of the cosplay. You have to be, even if you coming from it from the intentions of you don't look at it like how I'm explaining it right now and stuff like that. But it's like that's why they self-project that on purpose, to make it a mainstream thing, a mainstream of consciousness and stuff like that, instead of you having your own stream of consciousness of how you look at it. Because our subjectivity from our own specific point of view, based upon our individuality, that's why we have our own mind, makes the objective point of view. So just in general, they trying to make y'all have some type of objective point of view of their way of looking at it, when you know not everyone is going to think like that. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's a whole bunch of different religions and shit like that. A whole bunch of real legions of people who think in a certain way, and certain cultures and stuff like that. And the more you see the genuality of somebody who's trying to equalize it the best way they can to make it so we can have some type of system going to where it's like a big, like, humanity, mankind of evolution in some way, shape, and form, to where it can be relative to everybody, not just a specific group of people. Then you start seeing a genuality between, oh, who's actually connected with God compared to who just look at God like a deity. You get what I'm saying? So it don't turn into, oh, you have to join this church, oh, you have to do this, oh, you have to do that. No, you just have to be with the people and be with the culture. But you can also have your own way of how you look at it too, and just be around motherfuckers who in the same sentiment or business deals or like networking and stuff like that. You start seeing the difference. So, right, I'm gonna end it off with this. All the allegories and the metaphors they make in these holy texts, for the most part, they're talking about internal energies. So when you look at the men they're talking about in the Bible, or Judaism and stuff like that, they're talking about certain thoughts. If they're talking about certain women, they're talking about certain feelings. They're talking about feminine energy and stuff like that. And it's not something like Jesus walking on water and stuff like that, of something like, oh, we have that ability to actually play that out in the physical and stuff like that. No, they're talking about it in an allegorical type of way. You know what I'm saying? So water dealing with the emotions and feelings, and Jesus walking over water and stuff like that. And then Jesus represents the sun. The sun would represents like the solar plexus chakra and stuff like that. It represents like a star type being and stuff like that. So a celestial body at a luminous point and stuff like that. So from you able to take your star power, right? You're able to walk on water, aka you're able to walk over your emotions and feelings. You're not gonna get drowned and submerged into the waters in the deep depths of some type of overwhelming emotion and feeling. You're able to walk over them, and that's all they're talking about. They talking about it from an allegorical standpoint, not like a physical standpoint. Like, oh, this is something actually happening in the flesh, in existence, and stuff like that. That's why they have to put certain things out there, like BC, before Christ, or before Common Era, and rewrite history so y'all can be stuck into the history without understanding the mystery without the history. So look at that, it's just mysticism. And that's why they'll make different things like Jewish mysticism, which is talking about the Kabbalah and stuff like that, but they really just talking about the chakra system. That lets you know right there they have their specific version of how they look at chakras, and they have to take different spiritual practices and spiritual beliefs that a whole bunch of different people believed in before it got westernized and old world to the new world and stuff like that, to where they can capitalize off of it and make some type of profit off of it. That's why they talk about prophets in the Bible as well. You know what I'm saying? Those different prophets are specific ideas of how we're gonna profit off of it. You know what I'm saying? How can we get money off of that? How can we get a monetary gain off of that? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the minute you start seeing through that, you just start seeing, oh, okay, it's just like a collective that people can be a part of, but and it's not just a specific group of people, and they have to make a whole bunch of different Jehovah Witnesses and coming through the letter J and a whole bunch of different Jesuits and stuff like that to make people believe in them being the white face in the sky, Zeus face in the sky, Kratos God in the sky and stuff like that, white face in the sky, like that ass, like Jesus coming out the sky or something like that. AKA look at that as some white savior complex in some way, shape, or form, because God is just all possibilities. So from y'all looking at it like it's a specific shape and form, aka a human or a deity who is actually in the flesh and stuff like that, that's how they get y'all lost, because they want y'all lost into the flesh instead of y'all taking y'all power back to where you can get your spiritual natures up. And that's just based upon the space you in, aka your creativity and your productivity. So you can produce some natural organic way of how to look at the world based upon your own individuality and your own awarenesses, and expanding that outwardly and condensing into a new mind based upon the different ups and downs that you go through when it comes to life, and raising your vibration and knowing how to lower it in some way, shape, and form. And that's it. That's it. So that lets you know how low vibrational or demonic, or how low of a frequency they actually is, because all they knowledge is based upon something that's in the physical, and it got nothing to do with the mentality. It has nothing to do with no spirituality or them practicing what they preach.